And we are live.
Good morning, everyone. It's the one, the only, the Senor Silverback himself, with the master of the flux capacitor working in the backgrounds and in the foregrounds, making sure that the airwaves are coming out crispy and clean. It's V and CJ in the morning. With that being said, guys, check us out on roguemoney.net. Follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check out the Rogue Money Facebook page. Also, guys, if you haven't gotten a chance to download our podcast on the Apple iTunes Store as well as the Google Play Music Store, we're there. And if you have an Apple iPhone, we're in Apple News and soon to be on Google News. We're everywhere you want us to be. With that being said, also check out our sponsors. If you're facing debt collections, you need some help, you need to get the heck out of the situation you're in, or you just need a better credit score, check out myfreedomnow.us. myfreedomnow.us, and let these guys kick the debt collectors and the bankers in the nuts. You know, they'll go out and fight for you and make sure that you stand out winning. You're the last man standing, the last one. Absolutely. With that being said, CJ, what's going on?
Hey, happy Friday, V. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, my friend.
It's Friday, and it's been fun the last couple of days to watch all the Democrats. They hated Comey, now they love him, and the Russian collusion.
I love it. I love it.
It's fun watching them, right?
It's fun watching them, Siege, and it also shows very emphatically and poignantly the absolute hypocrisy of these Democrats. Their duplicity is open for everybody to see at this point. I mean, if you can't see that, then you haven't been paying attention. I mean, look at it. This whole Russia thing is blowing back on them. It's coming out, CJ, that it's members of the Democratic establishment that has Russian connections, is it not?
Yeah, it goes deep. I mean, there's so many examples that we can provide and show specific Russian collusion and the pay to play, the influence that the Russians had. Apparently, at this point, I'm mostly seeing it on the Democratic side, V.
Yeah, everything is winding up on the Democratic side, bro. I mean, look at Mark Warner, right? Mark Warner is one of the chief idiots involved, Virginia Democrat. And he is the number one Trump-Russia conspiracy theorist. Mark Warner made more than $6 million from Russian tech company Yandex in 2012, representing almost 10% of his entire $80 million net worth. I mean, think about that for a second, right? And yet he's going around talking about Russia connections. As far as we know, Donald Trump has made 0%. And more evidence is coming out. That's why James the Clapper has come out and said, yeah, there's no Russian collusion. We can't find it. Donald Trump has made 0% of his net worth from Russian companies. Maybe Warner should investigate his own ties to Russia. It is hilarity to say this, man. Hilarity. And Warner also happens to be one of the richest members of the Senate. CJ, we're in the wrong business. We need to go work. We need to run for Senate, bro.
It's amazing. You go to DC, you make 150, 200 grand, but then in less than 5 years, you retire with $20 million in a bank account. How does that happen, V?
How does that? Oh, well, because people like Nancy Pelosi, she's a genius investor. That's why. That's how it happens. Like Hillary Clinton, she's so good. She betted on cattle's futures and made a return on a stock on a trade that the best traders in the world would have a hard time winning. But she was able to do it. And Mark Warner, I'm sure he's an incredible genius. I mean, Pelosi's worth what, 150 million, the crazy woman?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
She has a $120,000 salary. I mean, come on.
Per capita, V, I don't have the exact statistic, but per capita, there are more millionaires sitting in Washington, D.C. in the House and the Senate. It's like maybe like 20 times the normal population in terms of the ratio. So yeah, it's a complete Ponzi scheme. Massive reform is needed, but for the Democrats specifically come out and say, oh, there's collusion, they hacked the election, the influence that they had. And time after time again, there's examples that we can provide. And John Podesta and his brother are another perfect example, V.
Oh yeah, let's not forget Skippy. Skippy Podesta, CJ. It turns out, okay, we've known this for a while. Skippy Podesta is knee deep. Because why? Well, his former boss, Hillary, she was knee deep in a lot of Russian stuff as well, selling 20% of the country's uranium off to Rosatom. Okay, well, a document filed last month by the Podesta Group revealed the firm failed to disclose dozens of contacts points it made with people in influential government offices while lobbying on behalf of pro-Russian Ukrainian think tank from 2012 to 2014. Newly disclosed points of contact, and this is when the moron is with Obama at this point. Okay, between the Podesta Group and the American government, which often took the form of meetings, emails, phone calls, included outreach to the State Department, the Office of the Vice President Joe, I can't keep my hands off children Biden, and the National Security Council. The firm was representing the European Center for a Modern Ukraine, a Ukrainian think tank that looking to soften the position of the Obama administration toward the country's then pro-Russian government. CNN, certainly not news network, was first to report on the story, noted that the form filed last month details the Podesta Group's lobbying before and after Ukraine's election. These guys were in it deep. Latest report says, CJ, they were up to 37 million deep in contributions with Russian funds in Podesta's. I mean, how come Podesta didn't disclose that his company took $37 million from the Russians?
Right. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, and specifics around, if you look at the timing of it, okay? So you're talking about a president-elect / candidate at the time that they're even making accusations regarding Trump and the Russian collusion. But let's take a look specifically at that time where the Podesta brothers were lobbying specifically while Hillary was Secretary of State. She had a sitting executive position, and they were just knowingly going in there, and they had their entire pay-to-play scam set up, having that type of influence with Hillary in the State Department.
Yep, exactly. But there's Russian connections with Trump. This is what's so dumb about the Democrats. I told these morons back in November or in October, CJ, please do not go full retard. Do not go so hard left that you're absolutely blindsided. These people think that they can create a narrative and then push it out into the mainstream public, trying to accuse a sitting president of collusion with the Russians, which at the end of the day doesn't mean anything to begin with, right?
Exactly.
And it all turns out, all the while knowing full well that these people that are pushing this Russian connections have Russian connections themselves. It's like the equivalent of it's like the evangelical fundamentalist Baptist preacher who's out there railing against homosexuality. Like, it's like a little overboard on the homo hating, right? He's a little extra with it, little extra with the homo hating, and then it turns out he's gay. I'm like, what?
Well, it's the same thing with these gun advocates that are guns. We don't want guns. We don't want, and then a month later they're busted carrying a loaded firearm.
Exactly. I mean, come on. If you guys are going to accuse a sitting president of something, don't let it be something that you yourselves are involved with, you idiots. God, it's just the stupidity of these guys, man.
Again, it always catches up with them, B. And another one that we didn't even have in our list that easily can be disclosed is, look at what Joe Biden's son did with Ukraine.
Oh my God.
Look at the color revolution that occurred in Ukraine, where you know that U.S. had a hand in overthrowing whenever the Ukrainians way back when were starting to partner with the Russians. But no, we go in with the color revolution, boom, to solidify an energy relationship with the U.S. And then Joe Biden's son gets appointed. What was he, like the VP or the CEO or something like that? Of that,
yeah, he was the CEO. Hunter Biden was the CEO of this Romanian as well as Ukrainian natural gas company that went around fracking all the Ukrainian areas, trying to find natural gas because they're mad because most of the natural gas and energy resources happen to be in Crimea, which Vladimir Putin took. So now, the Bidens were left for nothing, and they're around just destroying the water table, looking for natural gas in Ukraine, where the only natural gas is in Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's heads.
So again, just time after time that we can provide these examples. So no one is buying their selective outrage right now.
None whatsoever. No one's buying it. And the fact that Trump is trolling the Democrats so hard. Okay, the fact that the Trump is literally out there and saying, "Hey, look at the before and after. Before, all the tweets of Democrats saying they want Comey fired, they want Comey fired, and then the after, why was Comey fired? He should have stayed on. He was in the cusp of finding something. Comey couldn't find his way out of a paper bag. If you put a paper bag on Comey's head, he couldn't find his way out of it. The guy couldn't catch a cold. That's how pathetic Comey was, let alone catching some sort of evidence. The most incompetent FBI director and perhaps the most corrupt. Good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in your ass on the way out. Have a nice day. Hasta la pasta. Which brings us to the next thing, CJ. RogueMoney.net. Go there. James, the Russian analyst, has put up a fantastic article recently amidst the Comey firing furor. Trump hosts Lavrov. CJ, break it down.
Yeah, and again, this was a great move, by Trump. And again, just the whole, Russian, collusion. So what does he do in the midst of this, right? He brings in Lavrov to have a meeting with Trump, with Tillerson, to sit there and specifically to line up the agenda for Syria, I'm sure for North Korea, align these partnerships around, again, specifically, the safe zones that we've been sharing and discussing, that the U.S. is in full support of these safe zones that's being created. And Lavrov was a master. He was trolled by the press, and he turned around, looked at him, and says, "You got to be kidding me! You got to be." This guy doesn't play around. He is a real alpha male. And then they tried trolling Trump after this happened, was saying that Trump only allowed Russian reporters into the Oval Office during their meeting.
That backfired.
And that backfired. Just time after time again. I just really wish the MSM, I really wish the left could start, putting together a plan for 2020 if they really want to get serious. And the thing is, you're seeing a lot of resentment right now, regarding what's happening with the Democratic Party. So, but anyway, specifically around this article, so James does a great job of breaking it down, outlining some of the specific details on it. So go to roguemoney.net and check it out.
And it's James, so there's a lot of details. So take your time, go through the article, read it, check out all the stuff. It's fantastic. Unreal, man. Unreal. Truly Trump is kicking ass and taking names at this point. He's literally come 180. He doesn't care anymore, bro. That's what it seems like. I'm excited to see this. I'm not going to front. I'm excited to see this. Yeah,
and I'm going to throw out a little listen bait right now, real quick, V. But this afternoon, our guest on Rogue Money Radio is Monica Perez of the Monica Perez Show. She does out of Atlanta, Georgia, and she always brings great perspectives. But let me tell you, she's got a great perspective into this whole Russia, collusion with Trump. I'm not going to go into details. I'm going to save that, but be back at 4 p.m. so that you can hear her specifically outline what she thinks is going on.
Absolutely. Bitcoin heading to $2,000, buddy.
Yeah, so the Bitcoin euphoria continues. V, we're watching Bitcoin sail to all new time highs. There's a lot of speculation. People saying, well, there's a potential bubble, but where you're starting to see now is just a huge amount of influence in terms of the people that are opening up to Bitcoin, understanding that it's more than just a utility. So how high is high with Bitcoin? We're going to have to wait and see at this point, V.
Absolutely, man. On May 11th, our Bitcoin price listed on the U.S. exchange market rose rapidly, closing the Bitcoin price by Japanese Bitcoin exchanges. Currently, Bitcoin is trading at $18.90 in Japan, $18.40 in the U.S., and $21.15 in South Korea. So these are the various spreads on the various exchanges because of demand and the other things. I think Bitcoin is going to be probably between $2,700 to $3,200 by the end of 2017, CJ. That's where I see it. $2,700 to $3,200 by the end of 2017. I do think there will be one more correction coming up where it could probably pull back about $400, $500. And then again, it's off to the races. But look at where we stand. 7 months ago, 8 months ago, last summer we were telling people to get involved in this. Now look at y'all. If y'all would have listened last summer when Bitcoin was $600, God, you'd be thanking me right now.
Thanking? They'd be kissing you, V.
Yeah.
and holding
you
your baby.
yeah, man, for real. And, it's like, yeah, hold this, because what stock performs that well? None.
Well, Bitcoin, yeah, this year is the best performing, currency hands down, right? I mean, so
Kicking ass, bro, and taking names. Kicking ass and taking names. That's what Bitcoin's doing, literally.
yeah. So
Anyway,
later on today,
yeah,
later on today, we're going to be putting a special interview that V and I did yesterday with DigiCrypt, a Steemit blogger, and this guy is all knowledge of wealth in regards to Bitcoin, blockchain, all fintech. It's a great interview. We're going to get that. If you're subscribed at roguemoney.net, you're going to get an email blast to let you know when that is loaded. So again, we're excited to have that and just continue to share the knowledge regarding Bitcoin and get people to understand that if you're not going to do it as an investment, I completely understand that. Take care of your essentials, your food, those types of things. But at the same time, if you're still sitting with a bank account with lots of cash in it, now's the time to diversify. Way past time that you need to start, spreading your wealth a little bit.
Yep. And the thing is, I like the fact that DigiBit is somebody who's from the IT security as well as the computer forensics field. So he has a lot to say in that regard. So check that out. Anyway, Clickbait Farms, man. Like, what is this? Inside look at Clickbait Farms.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We've heard of this. I'll move through this quickly, but so this comes to us basically on Zero Hedge. But if you check this article out, it's amazing to see these Chinese clickbait farms, and if you can envision a room full of phones, hanging, that are, they said there's like 10,000 more of these that are around in different areas in China.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the video right now.
And so basically what happens is that these specific companies, what they specialize in, and I've been contacted as well. I always get these, private messages saying, hey, we can add 20,000 followers to you overnight, or we can add 10,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel. And this is, unfortunately, this is how some of the game was played in regards to not only how people gained followers.
But this is how Hillary Clinton got her Twitter followers. Okay.
Boom, got their likes. But what Zero Hedge does a great job of pointing out is that, when some of these new startups, Snapchat's a great example that, for example, when these companies go for their initial IPOs and they're sharing like the number of users and number of things, some of that data, like as much as like 10-20%, is not real data that could really harm them. So when you think about all those fake Snapchat accounts, when you think of all the fake Twitter accounts, Facebook doesn't screen at all. Anyone can create just a John Doe name on Facebook. That's why you get sometimes plagued with, well, I'm already friends with that person. Why am I getting 5 new friend invites? So how much of their information that they're selling to their marketing, to their advertising is really bad data, V?
Yeah. It really is, man. It really is tons of bad data. Now it all makes sense. I was wondering how these idiots, like the young jerks and all these fools, have their followers. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just interesting. Yeah, so go to Zero Hedge, check that out, but watch the video too, because it's just amazing to see. You have 2 or 3 programmers that are sitting there dialed into all these phones and telling them, probably programming them where to go for their likes and their things. And they said that there's more of these throughout different areas, not only in China, but yeah, they're called clickbait farms.
Last but not least, my man, let's talk about Mahmoud Abbas ready to sign the peace deal. Sources familiar with the ongoing peace talk efforts say the Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas signaled unprecedented readiness all of a sudden for a peace deal with Israel during his meeting at the White House last week. A sign of peace. CJ, I've been thinking about this for a while, right? And yes, we all have our opinions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Yeah, I know about the whole Khazarian thing. Yeah, I know about this, that, and the other. At the end of the day is this. Do you think, let me ask you a question, Siege. Let me juxtapose a question to you, Siege. If tomorrow the Palestinians put down their rocks, they, put down all their, rhetoric, and they decided to just do the Martin Luther King / Gandhi method of kumbaya and holding hands and peaceful protest, what do you think would have happened? I mean, back in the 80s. Let's talk about the 80s, when the 80s and 90s, when they were in the peak suicide bombing before Israel built the wall and cut all that stuff out. But peak suicide bombing, right?
Right. Well, you wouldn't have the escalation
Correct.
Everything in the Middle East, whether
And
Iraq.
one more thing I want to tell people that don't know this, because most people don't have a grasp on the Middle East like I do, okay? During the 80s, the Palestinian-held territories in the late 70s and 80s, they were at one point, I think, the 11th largest economy in the world. They were extremely prosperous. They were helped and built up to that level by their neighbors, the Israelis. And then what has occurred is you had a lot of hateful vitriol, especially with the PLO that started to come in and started infiltrating school books, telling you that the Jews are bad, this, that, and the other. And again, I get the whole, various viewpoints and sides on the Israeli thing. And yeah, I get it. Okay, I know that the nation state of Israel was originally a Rothschild European colonization project. I get it. But I'm divesting. I'm just putting that to the side for now. And I'm just saying, CJ, what would happen in the 80s and the 90s, especially, in the 90s, when the height of all this terrorism and BS, if the Palestinians just literally did the MLK Gandhi thing, what would have happened? Do you think they would have gotten their territory? They would have gotten everything?
Oh, no, not at all.
No, dude, you misunderstood what I'm saying. If the Palestinians did the MLK thing, meaning they put down their AK-47s, their Katyusha rockets, their suicide bomb vests, their Aloha snack bar chants, and all that other stuff, they put all that stuff down, CJ, and they started doing Kumbaya and doing peaceful protest marches. They're doing peaceful resistance marches where they're just sitting down, peaceful protests and not moving. The world's sympathy would have been on them, and they would have gotten everything they would have asked for. They would have been Mideast peace when it comes to Palestine and Israel. It would have been settled.
Right, yeah, and again, the whole escalation in the Middle East, could have really been prevented if they would have went the right efforts, but no, that's not exactly what happened. So they have a very unique opportunity here, V, to really turn a page on history. So let's hope that this comes to some type of a settlement.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens, man. Peace. But wait, it's going to be fun. You know why? I just realized something.
Oh, no, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. Go for it.
Jared Kushner's. He's working on it, so everything's okay. Go to sleep, everyone. Jared Kushner's on the job. And with that being said, Siege, we are at the end of the broadcast.
That is it.
Tune back at 4 p.m. as we sit down with Monica Perez to go through a litany of topics discussed with here by us and her. Till then, check us out on roguemoney.net, the Facebook, the Twitter, and check out our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Help them help you. That being said, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.